Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we are going to be creating a wow kind of card. So this is white on white and it has lots of beautiful texture too. So to start with, I'm going to be starting with a large piece of cardstock. So this is 8.5 by 11, and I'm just going to add a piece of double-sided adhesive to the back of it. You can see here that I kind of peel it away halfway, pop the cardstock down, and then peel the rest away to add it on really nice and flat. I'm also going to be using the layered wood flower. Now this is a beautiful layering die set, and I'm going to be cutting this a number of times out of this sheet of white cardstock that we've now created into a sticker, which is really cool. So when we do die cut these, the little images are going to have the adhesive already on them, so we won't need to worry about adhesive later on. So I am just using a little bit of tape just to keep all of these little dies in place. So when I run this through my die cutting machine, they're not going to move around. So I am adding all of the elements from the die set into here. It doesn't really matter where you place them. I was going to colour these, but then I decided when I seen how pretty they were cut in white to actually just go for white on white. So once I have cut them one time, I'm then going to cut them a further 2 times. So again, I'm just going to lift those dies off. Now with the double-sided adhesive that we have there, it might not cut all the way through that backing piece. So that means those little pieces are going to stay in place. Now this really does help if you are going to colour your images, but it doesn't really matter a lot for us on this one. So again, I'm just moving those images over onto a spare piece of white cardstock, and then again, once everything's in place, I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine. So once I've run that through 3 times, I now have all of the images that I'm going to need for my card, well, these images. So once I've done that, I can then add these on top of each other. Now you can do this out of some coloured cardstock if you wish, but I did want to do some beautiful white on whites with lots of different textures going on. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up the images. And I do find that having the layering guide with me while I'm doing this really does help. So I just have it off to the side, and you can see exactly where these pieces are going to need to go together. So I've added the layer onto the base of the flower, and I'm then going to do the little center pieces. Now if the little pieces do get stuck in here, I find it really easy to take a little pin and then just pop those out onto a spare piece of cardstock. It's always easier to pop it onto something that is going to stick to. So once I have that, you can see just how pretty this is, and I do love the white on white effect. So once I've done the first one, I'm then going to do the other 2 in exactly the same way. I find that using a little hat pin or a pokey tool really does help with this. If you have a stylus, I think that would work as well, just to help you kind of maneuver the pieces off that little sticker sheet that we have there. That'll help you get on really quickly and easily. So I'm just going to remove this second layer here, and then I'm going to pop that onto my 3rd flower. And then once that's done, all I need to do then is add the centerpiece on these, and then I'm going to have 3 beautiful flowers to use on my card. You can just do 1 if you wanted to create more of a focal point, but I am going to be using these flowers to completely cover the front of an A2 card base. So once I've done that, I can then move on to the leaves. Again, I have that layering guide off to the side so I can see exactly where these layers need to be. So I'm just going to pop the second layer in first on top of the base layer of the leaves. And then once I have those ones in place, I can then take the little 3rd layers. These are really quite tiny, so having the adhesive on there cut already really does help and speed up the time it takes to put these together. So once I have these 3 leaves, you can see just how pretty they are there. Then I'm going to go ahead and complete the other leaves. These are really easy to pop together. They kind of just line up around the base layer for the second one, and then that 3rd layer doesn't necessarily have to go in the correct place. It's still going to look really pretty and add lots of texture to these beautiful little leaves. So once I have all of my little die cuts, I can then move these off to the side and work on something else. So to add a little more texture, I'm going to be taking the Just Leaves die set, and I'm going to be cutting these from a piece of vellum. So this is going to give a really soft look and add a lot of texture as well, because we're not actually going to stick these down perfectly. So again, I'm using a little bit of tape just to keep these in place while I do run that through my machine. Once I've cut these the first time, I'm then going to go ahead and cut them out again. So I've just used the leaves from the die set that are more solid, ones that are not really viney, but you can use the vine ones if you want to as well. So I'm just going to pop them on again onto that piece of vellum and then die cut them again, so I have lots of different leaves to work with in my composition. I now have a piece of backing from the double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to use this as a guide to kind of work out my placement. So it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just going to pop my images into place onto this. I haven't removed any of the backing just yet, but because we're working on the backing again, if we stick these down onto this, it's going to be easily removed. So once I'm happy with how everything's looking, I'm then going to take the backing from the adhesive from the flowers, and this is just going to kind of keep those leaves in place where I want them to be. So again, I'm just going to take all the backing off the flowers and then pop those onto the leaves. So there are nice little flower clusters there. And then once I've done that, I then decided to remove the backing off the leaves and then stick this down onto that little backing piece there. If you don't have a piece of backing from your double-sided adhesive, you could use a piece of acetate, and that would work as well. Just make sure not to stick it down too firmly. Once I'm happy with that, I'm then going to take the vellum die cuts that we have, and I'm just going to pop these in. So I'm popping them under the little sticky pieces that we have and then having them overlay the top of the die cuts. I think this looks really pretty. I like the dimension that it gives. Also, the added interest and softness is really, really quite cool and beautiful. So once I'm happy with how everything is looking, I did struggle with this little leaf here, but it worked out fine. I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy with the amount of leaves that I have on there. I'm then going to take a piece of press and seal. I'm just going to pop that over, and I can then remove the backing piece from behind there. I can then use this whole little panel that we have to cover the front of an A2 card base. So this is a white card base, but if you wanted to add a bit of colour, it might be fun to add a little bit of a rainbow card base to the back. So once that's adhered to the front of my card base, I'm then going to flip this over and I'm going to remove any of the overhanging pieces just using my scissors. I do find that it's easier doing it from behind because you can see exactly where you need to cut. And just look how pretty that is. That texture is just stunning. So I'm going to be using these circled sentiments for my sentiment. So I'm just going to pop one of the stamps onto my block, and because I'm going to be using dye ink, I want to make sure that it's going to sit properly. So I have used my conditioning eraser before stamping this up with some cloudy sky ink. So I've got a really beautiful grey sentiment there. I'm then going to use the coordinating die to cut my little sentiment out, add a little bit of foam tape to the behind of it, and then pop that into place, popping it over the vellum to keep that bit down a little bit more. So here is the card complete. I really do hope that you liked the card and that you've enjoyed the video. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share it because we would really love to see. Again, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.